Hello, my name's Kevin. You're watching Leather Note Prepper. So my buddy over Reality Survival, that's JJ Johnson, he's been doing a whole lot of videos on power generation. And power generation is important, but for the vast majority of the events in reality that we would be preparing for, you're talking about less than a day. There are some that could be a lot longer, like an earthquake or a tornado or a severe storm. You're talking some cases 2 or 3 days. The last tornado that came through here, we were without power here at my house for a very short period of time, but people in the neighborhood were without power for up to 5 days, depending on what street you were on. So really long term is kind of not up here, it's kind of back here. When I say long term, I mean week after week after week, month after month after month, that kind of power generation. By the way, if you haven't checked out the American Prepping Academy app, you need to go do it. I'm on there. There's 13 or 14 different content creators on there. I've got over 100 videos myself on it, and it's currently no charge to you. Just go to wherever you get your apps from and download it. academy.app. It's easy enough. So check that out. It's so user-friendly. I did a video on it actually showing how to go through it and how to check out videos. It is much easier than YouTube. JJ did a fantastic job on that. So JJ's been going on and on about JJ's been going on and on about power generation. And that's great, because we're all going to need some power. You want to keep your perishables cool. You want to keep your freezers going. Now, I'll say this. Back a couple of years ago when that idiot decided to blow himself up because he was pissed off at AT&T and blew up their central office, or tried to blow up their central office in downtown Nashville, we were without internet for about 5 days. So if there's no power, you're not going to have any internet. So if you're thinking you're going to use your phone, because there was no phone service either. If these cell towers have no power and they've got a finite amount of backup power built in, some is with natural gas, some they actually have diesel. So if the pumps aren't pumping the natural gas, guess what? Those generators are not going to work. So keep that in mind. If the cell phone towers aren't working, your cell phone's not going to work. If the nodes that require power, like a MUX or that's short for multiplexer, or VRADs are not, and those are, I don't remember the acronym for that one. You have to forgive me. It's been a long time since I've been doing any kind of phone work. Places where that information comes from. If the power is not putting it out into your local area where it actually requires power, you're not going to have internet service. You're not going to have cell phone service. It's just a fact. I hate to tell you that, but if you have voice over internet service, guess what? Your phone ain't going to work because you don't have any phone service or internet service. Old-fashioned dial tone, yes, that will work because the central offices all have battery backups. Good Lord. I wish I could go in and show you the setup they have. They have what they call 100-year batteries. They were replacing the central office it's south of Clarksville, down Highway 13, but I can't think of the name of it. Anyways, they had, I think 20 batteries in there. These are all DC, 48 volts. These things weigh a metric freaking ton. They were so heavy. They had like 20 of them in there that kept everything running until the generator kicked in. Their generator was that one was diesel, and they tested it regularly. So keep that in mind. If you're thinking, well, I'm going to have TV and all this stuff, no, you're not. Chances are very slim that your cell phone's going to work in your area if just one of your towers is down. And chances are also slim that your internet's going to work, because if the node is down, you're down. So that's why I personally have an over-the-air antenna, and I strongly recommend it. They're not that expensive. Get one for like 20 or 30 bucks. I haven't had pay TV in several years now, and I have not looked back, except around football season. So that's the only time, because I do love college football. Anyhow, so JJ's been going on and on about the power generation, and he's been going on about the whole home, the big monster solar setup versus a whole home like Generac generator, where you can spend tens of thousands of dollars. I personally am of the mindset currently, because my wife and I are not going to stay in this house forever, and I just don't want to sink that kind of money into it yet. I've got more portable. Now, the fella that was supposed to come talk to me about a transfer switch, he never showed up, which kind of was disheartening, because this company's done some good work for me before, electrical wise, and I was really upset about that. But putting a transfer switch in is a good idea. Having a small backup generator just to keep things like your refrigerator going, your freezer going, some lights on. You don't necessarily aren't going to have to run your heat pump off of it if you've got a heat pump or your furnace, but if you've got a DVD player, you can run your DVD player. You can run your television if you've got over the air. And same way with having a solar powered generator. Now, my current setup is I've got a 4,500 watt Black Max generator that's total wattage, that's starting watts, not running watts, it's starting watts. 4,500 starting watts, 35 or 3,600 running watts. So I've got that as my main source, but that's not an inverter generator, so the power that you have could damage your electronics. That one I would use mainly for lights, stoves, things that don't have a bunch of electronics in it, charging batteries, things along that line. I've got a 2,100 watt, I think it's 2,100 watt inverter generator, and that's 2,100 max watts. I think it's 1,600 or 1,800 running watts. That's what's going to run my refrigerator. I'm not going to have my refrigerator torn up. Unfortunately, the way my stove and oven are set up, I can't plug those directly in, and that's no big deal. Once I get the transfer switch in, I'll be able to run those off of the other generator. So those are my two gasoline setups. I don't have dual fuel, all right? I just don't. I am looking at getting a Honda generator. If I can find one, I'd love to get the 12,000, but the only one I'm able to find currently is the 9,000 watt, and it's right around $4,500, 4,000, 4,500. It's pretty spendy, but you want to be able to run this thing for longer periods of time. Now, I also have some small, just one small battery bank that I can plug in, charge up phones and tablets and things along those lines. Again, if you don't have any internet, you don't have any cell phone service, who cares if your phone's charged? Just throwing that out there. But I have that for charging those. And then I have my solar generator with two, I think they're 110 watt. No, I got four 110 watt solar panels for that. So, and I'm south facing, the front of my house is south facing, so it's easy to get good sun. Of course, in the south, you never know when you're gonna have sun, when you're gonna have clouds. So that's my setup. That's it's a EcoFlow Delta 1800. And last time I ran my refrigerator, I ran it for more than 12 hours and it didn't kill the battery. So, and that was my old refrigerator. That wasn't the new refrigerator that I currently have. That's even more efficient. So, it didn't run the television as long. I think it ran the TV for like 6 hours before it finally got down to, I did a video on it. You can check it out. But looking along those lines, that's my setup currently. Is it the absolute best? No. Will it work? Yes. How do I know it will work? Because I've had to actually use it. So keep that in mind. If you are at a homestead and you're not leaving that's your bug out location, and all of it, you're just not going to leave it unless Chinese come marching over the hill, as Pinball says, I can see investing in one of the big tens of thousands of dollars setups. If your job requires you to move around several times every few years, be more portable. Be able to move everything you have and not be stuck losing out on all that kinds of money. Now, JJ said he got more money from his other house that he sold in Indiana because he had the generator. That's all well and good, but I still don't want to invest that kind of money. Now they're even more expensive than what they were before. So just to turn around and sell it and lose it, it's like, that kind of hurts, because that was a lot of money he put into it. He put a lot of effort and thought into it. And great ideas. I'm not, this is not a bash JJ video. I'm not by any stretch of the imagination. But that's just my mindset. That's my thought. So not everybody is the same. Not everybody has the same plan. There's been people in power outages who were going to use their electric vehicle or their hybrid vehicle to power their house, and it failed miserably. And there's people who had it set up and it worked great. I mean, I know what I do works, and I'm going to continue doing it. However, one caveat, you got to keep your generators warm enough to start. So when I needed it back a few years ago, when it got down to like minus 10 degrees, I think it was here, and it was just so dead burn cold, and we lost power for, well, I think it was like 10 hours. My generator didn't work. I had the battery backup generator, so I wasn't concerned. I was able to get the inverter generator in, warmed up in the house because I had backup heat source, kerosene, and it worked wonderfully after several hours of warming the engine. That's the only bad thing about it. So check your power setup, all right? If you're trying to produce power and you're living someplace where you can have things like what I've got, use it occasionally. Don't just test it occasionally. Physically shut your power off for a few hours and see how this stuff works. Keep up the maintenance on it as well. So this has been a longer video, but there's just so much to this particular topic because there's no one scenario that's going to cover every individual situation. So be fluid, be thoughtful, try to think the entire process through across the board. Anyhow, hope you guys got something out of this.